The argument from divine hiddenness and its responses. 1. The atheist challenge. One of the main arguments presented by atheists is the argument from divine hiddenness. They ask, if God is loving and all-powerful, and if He truly wants people to believe in Him, why has He hidden Himself from so many? Why do we see countless sincere seekers who have tried to find and connect with God but claim to have received no sign at all? From their point of view, this silence makes no sense and becomes evidence against God's existence. Another argument goes, whoever makes a claim must carry the burden of proof. Believers cannot simply claim God exists and then expect others to accept it without evidence. For example, if someone claimed they had a two-headed dragon in their house, no one would be obligated to believe them until they actually produced the dragon, or at least a strong evidence for it. By the same logic, since no clear and undeniable evidence for God exists, atheism appears justified. 2. First response: the nature of God. To friends who genuinely seek the truth, two important answers can be given. 1. A universally provable God would cease to be God. We explained this earlier in the episode 3 of this series. 2. Expecting God to be like a physical object is mistaken. A physical body like ours cannot avoid being seen. You cannot make yourself invisible. But a truly all-powerful God must be able to conceal Himself completely, such that no one can discover Him if He wills. A being unable to hide would be incomplete and unworthy of worship. So the first error lies in assuming that God must be constantly visible or detectable. On the contrary, His perfection implies that He can remain fully hidden whenever necessary. 3. Why would God hide Himself? This naturally raises the next question. Why would God choose to hide Himself instead of appearing clearly so that everyone believes and many human conflicts could be solved? At first glance, people often assume that God's only desire is our obedience and belief. But if that were the case, would such a God really be worthy of worship? A being who only wants submission would resemble a proud master trying to make up for weakness by demanding followers. Therefore, a truly worthy God must have deeper, more beautiful reasons for both His hiddenness and His desire for our faith. These reasons connect to the mystery of human creation, which we will explain more fully later. 4. Awakening as the path to God. The real story is this: human beings must truly want and awaken enough to discover God. In this case, awakening itself becomes equivalent to rational and justified faith. Doesn't this give hiddenness a meaningful role? Yes, it does. And while God is hidden, He is not completely hidden. Signs of Him are everywhere. The existence of countless believers is one such sign. Not that all believers necessarily worship the true God, but the sheer number cannot be ignored. If there were no God revealing Himself to sincere seekers, why would so many believers exist? Could all of them be lying or deluded? Clearly not. It is unreasonable to assume that none of these believers ever received any genuine sign. 5. Different potentials, different discoveries. Still, the atheist objection remains. Why are there people, past and present, who sincerely searched yet claim they found no sign? The answer lies in the fact that God is not a material object, the same for everyone. Instead, God is discovered as an inner awakening unique to each person. The same reasons that serves as full proof for some may appear weak or meaningless to others. This difference depends on each person's potential and mindset, which God has given uniquely to them. In fact, It is an act of divine justice that not everyone can discover him through the same reasons. Each person advances only as far as they are meant to advance. 6. God's wisdom in revealing and hiding. Should a wise God reveal himself equally to all? Or would it not make more sense for him to reveal himself according to each person's capacity, and for some, even deliberately, hide himself so that no matter how they search, they cannot find him? Consider two everyday examples. Avoidance. Imagine you dislike someone and therefore avoid being where they are. If they don't know this, they might think you don't exist. Yet you do exist. You are just hidden from them until the issue is resolved. Advice. Suppose someone asks you for advice. You give them the right answer, but they dismiss you as ignorant and continue in their error. Next time, you withhold your advice. But once they realize their mistake, you are ready to guide them again. In both cases, hiddenness is purposeful and rational. It depends on the other person's readiness. 7. Why God seems absent. So if someone seeks God but cannot find him, they must ask, do I have the honesty and understanding necessary to connect with what I'm looking for? Because God is far wiser and more intelligent than we are. The moment we lack the level of understanding suited to us, or insist on holding on to our mistakes, he will deliberately turn away, leaving us unable to perceive any sign of him. And let us not forget, God cannot be deceived. Yet with the right changes, people who once claimed to see no signs will find countless signs of God everywhere. Some may need more time because their greater potential demands stronger signs. But if someone finds absolutely no sign, then the flaw lies within themselves. Something in them has caused God to conceal himself. 8. Conclusion. If God did not exist, or if he were completely hidden, then we would either see no believers at all, or conclude that every believer was a liar or deluded. We know neither of these is true. God is a treasure to be discovered through awakening, not a needy being waiting for us to believe and therefore forced to reveal himself. In the end, the wise and just God hides himself from those who lack the purity or understanding required to connect with him, as though he does not exist. At the same time, he can be utterly clear and present to others. A God who is truly all-powerful is fully capable of doing both.
The content you just listened to is part of the teachings of Sayyid Saeed Tagavi Zadeh in the field of theology and the pursuit of true happiness. These teachings are interconnected, so many of the unclear points will become clearer in the upcoming episodes. For this reason, it is important to follow the series from the beginning in order to fully benefit from its inner value. Additionally, there will be separate programs dedicated to answering frequently asked questions. Until the next episode, goodbye and may God be with you.